Afle Kamara. You just listen to Money Matters. You can join the station next week for another presentation of Money Matters. Welcome to Education at Midweek at this time. And my guest this morning is Mr. Abraham Kiazulu. He's the Deputy Coordinator and Technical Lead for the ARAS project at the Ministry of Education. Mr. Kiazulu, I'd like to say good morning. Welcome.
Thank you, Fafle. Good morning to you.
Great. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Fafle. Good morning.
Great. Let's get it started with, getting to know more about the IRAS project. What is it?
Thank you, Fafle. It's a pleasure being in the LBS studio this morning. But let me clarify that Abraham A. Kiazulu II is I've been hearing the name, listening to you on radio, but I've not actually interfaced with you in person, so I'm happy to know Fafle Kamara in person today.
Yeah, it's
I
a
was
pleasure.
thinking about meeting Saba George, another person I've always been thinking to see. So basically, the OURISE project, OURISE is an acronym, and it just means improving results in secondary education.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the largest project right now in the education sector, funded by the World Bank.
Okay.
It's a $47 billion project with the overall development objective of improving equitable access and the quality of senior secondary education, and at the same time provide a response to the COVID-19 pandemic in schools across Liberia.
Okay, that was the background for which the project was launched.
Yeah, it was launched. Yeah. That's
Okay.
what the project
So you say it's 47 million
$47 billion. $47 billion.
supported by the
Equivalent
World Bank.
World Bank is a 34 million SDR,
Okay.
the World Bank currency, but the equivalent at the time it was signed into a project for Liberia or a grant for Liberia.
Okay.
The equivalent of 47 billion. So we keep carrying 47 billion.
And when was it launched?
Since October 15, 2019.
Okay.
The project has
So
been
it's
existing. It's a 4-year project.
okay.
I call it the largest project in the sector because it cuts across almost all the various levels of education. There are interventions that support early childhood education, especially for the private schools, and there are interventions that support secondary education, tertiary education, etc. So I can tell you that as far as we are concerned, this project is almost the beneficiaries are the entire Liberian population because it
Okay.
supports teachers, it supports
Yeah.
students, etc.
And so you say 4 years, so that means it ends next year.
It should be ending next year because
Okay.
this is our 3rd year of operation. By next year, November 30th, the project should be ending. But because it started on the slow footing, COVID-19 had a negative interplay with
Okay.
the project, so we are contemplating pleading with the World Bank after we should have shown progress as to what we have done so far to give us at least additional years so to complete all the
Okay.
process.
Giving all of the setbacks.
Exactly.
But is there a room for renewal?
It's an exact amount given to the government of Liberia as a 100% grant. So I think what you can push for first and foremost is the extension to complete this project.
Okay.
Now the World Bank has been a traditional partner to the government of Liberia and to the education sector. So the way we operate with the World Bank, we have education sector plan from time to time.
Okay.
Once we develop 4 to 5 year sector plan, the World Bank, all the development partners interface with us to review the document, make sure it meets also their own strategic goals for the sector across Africa and across the globe.
Okay.
Now, so what they do, they look at your plan and always support certain aspects to buttress government efforts. So I always tell people that the World Bank is here to stay and World Bank will always have education projects.
Sure. So talk us through more about the project. You say it is the biggest project, when you look at the education sector.
Yeah.
So give us more detail about the project before we delve into other aspects.
Thank you. So let me have some time to talk about the overall view of the project. Like I said, it's the largest project in the education sector right now. We are seeing total beneficiary, direct beneficiary to be the 1.4 million student population of Liberia, and also 60,000 plus teachers across the country, and 2 universities, the 2 state-run universities, Tubman University and the University of Liberia Education Colleges.
They are also part of the
They are
project,
also part
but
of
the
the
project is
project.
targeting secondary. How
Yes,
come?
you when I get to the nitty-gritty,
Okay.
you understand why
Right.
it's like that because
Yeah.
secondary, I told you about teachers. We need to train
Yeah.
teachers.
Yeah.
Where do we train the teachers to go to secondary schools? It has to come from the education colleges and the very universities.
Okay.
So we went ahead.
Or the teacher colleges?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because I say education college,
Yeah.
teacher college.
Yeah,
as you
teacher
say in
college.
Nigeria, yes. Yeah, the teacher college. The teacher college in University of Liberia teaches secondary education in the various subject areas.
Okay.
We want to modernize that college to be able to meet the spec that we are looking for in terms of quality of teachers that go to the classroom.
Okay.
The scene is being replicated at Tokma University, and we are also intervening in our very rural teacher training institutes.
Okay.
So it is meant to make sure that at that preliminary level, we prepare the teachers that are going to teach the teachers that are going to go to the classroom in the secondary schools. So
Great.
we have the intervention across the entire education sector.
Okay.
Yeah. So I told you that we have several in terms of indirect beneficiaries. You can just see the entire Liberian population. So what are the areas that the project covers? Basically, we have an intervention that responds to the COVID-19 pandemic in schools. All right, and in that, the Ministry of Education was able to get funding from the Global Partnership for Education to support the supply of health and hygiene kits in line with the health protocol set up by the Ministry of Education and Public Health Institute during the COVID-19, or to all public schools across the country. So we came in as a ministry. GP funding cannot go to private schools. It can only stop at public schools.
Yeah.
Warben being a very magnanimous partner, we spoke with them that you can allow to use some of our money to support the private schools also. He said, yeah, no problem.
Okay.
So under the project, we were able to target 3,400 private schools, faith-based and community schools across the country. And do not get me wrong, all the total faith-based and community schools in the country at that time. was
Because the general population of secondary school students are also in private school.
in fact, the even say general population, the majority are in private
Majority.
schools.
Why is that?
I think when I'm teaching, I'm a teacher also.
Okay.
I always tell people there's a social contract between the people and the government. And in the social contract, if the government can adequately provide what it's supposed to provide in the social contract, the public goods, then the private sector can exploit the public goods. So
Okay.
what has happened, because we are not being able to provide adequate access, adequate availability, adequate affordability, so some of the people that are denied.
They are trying to go the private way.
So the private schools are making business. Are making business out of education.
So for the
education
project,
should have been public goods, but because we cannot sufficiently provide what we're supposed to provide in equitable amount to all across the country, affordable for all with the kind of quality that all parents want to see their children achieving. So some try to swell to private schools.
and because you want the project to also, impact
all
every
students.
so you chase
The
them
private
with
schools also,
with
yeah.
it.
Especially during the COVID period, you wouldn't want public schools to be adequately equipped to combat the COVID-19 pandemic, but then private and faith-based schools are vulnerable. Do not forget, public school students, private school students are in the same community. You go to Claratown, there are people in Tokmaha, Nipo, Boswen, and they are living in the same community with people in Kateria, in Convent, CWA, etc. So you wouldn't want people are living together in the close community and you support one group and leave the rest of the people. So
Okay.
that's why, in the wisdom of the Ministry of Education under the current leadership, they felt that let also provide health kits for private and faith-based schools. And this project is the one doing that. We did it for 3,400 schools in total. That's the total in the country. And that's the first area of intervention. The second area of intervention had to do with increasing the access
Okay.
to education. And the best way to do that is to create more infrastructure. The classroom student ratio is huge,
Okay.
specifically for some counties. I mean, Mosuralo, Nimba, Bon, okay, Maikibi. You will get to a classroom, especially at the senior secondary level, and see 160 students in one classroom.
And you also found out that they have 10th grade, 8, all the way to
10th
E.
grade E, you get it
know,
right. You
you
get it
know.
right. So what we intend doing, there's no one teacher can be standing in front of 160 students in a tight classroom and provide efficient and effective teaching, right? So, and there will be no effectiveness. The teacher needs to know his or her students one-on-one, know their strengths and weaknesses. When I come for a huge teacher-student ratio in the classroom-student ratio, you will not get quality education. So the improving results in secondary education came to improve the quality. So one way to improve the quality is to expand the infrastructure, make it adequate for all.
Okay.
So
In that expansion, is it the construction of new schools or you know, to
I'm getting
expand
there.
the existing school.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
In that expansion, to increase access, we have different interventions or different activities. First, the current schools that are existing, all the 150 Sombo public high schools that are existing, renovate them, fix the armchairs, change the roof, give it a facelift so it can be attractive first,
Okay.
right? So we are doing that through community empowerment approach. We give the money to the schools and they
Okay.
work with school management committees that comprise of students, teachers, the principal, the PTA chair, community leader, and the women group leader. They are all in that group managing that money together, renovating all the government high schools across the country. We give to them in trenches based on your performance. We give the next trench in the ratio of 50, 40.
You say each school supposed to have what?
As it will give them the grant in
Okay.
trenches. Meaning, if you are entitled to 30,000, we'll give the first 50%, which is 15,000. When you finish implementing that, we'll see your results are good. You met all the grant guidelines. Then we'll give you another 40%, making the 90,000.
Does the amount vary?
No, it varies. It varies depending on the size of the school in terms of enrollment,
Okay.
and then the size of the school in terms of levels.
Okay.
So, take for example, Togma has only 10, 11, 12.
Mm.
But another government high school, maybe in Nimba County, has from kindergarten or ECE up to 12th grade. Of course, they cannot get the same money. But that's just one
So
of the
who
factors.
carries the highest?
Enrollment is a major factor. So it's a matrix. Your number of students and the number of levels determine how much you can carry. The highest amount a school can receive is 55,000 US dollars. The lowest amount a school can receive is 15,000 US dollars. You may say the gap is wide.
So that has been going for since the project was launched.
Oh yeah, we are almost concluding that the schools are now receiving their third tranche, which is the last 10%. So we are almost concluding.
So the money is given until the project duration ends.
No, the money is meant for you to renovate your school in one academic year period. Actually,
Oh, okay.
yes. So we started since last year. I think about last year April they received it. No, last year August they received the first 50%. Around March of this year they received the 40%, making it 90%. So we are currently now disbursing the
The final
last
tranche.
10% here to the schools. But they are all not, the first 50% all received at the same time. But they were all not at the same pace in terms of managing the grant, in terms of implementation, progress, etc. So based on satisfactory performance, you can come for the second tranche. So some are lagging behind a bit and others are already into their third tranche.
Okay.
But like I said, that's just one of the activities under the infrastructure component. There's also an expansion of existing junior secondary schools or junior high schools to senior high schools in education districts without senior high schools, public senior high schools now. So on that we have about 25 schools to be expanded. From
As it stands now.
yes, from Bapolu County to Maryland County, about 10 counties are benefiting from that. Because those 10 counties were found to have lacking at least one educational district with senior high school not being present. All right.
Okay.
So there where we are now with that. The last intervention under that subcomponent is the construction of 3 new high schools in towns with overcrowded classrooms
Okay.
at the highest level. So those towns are Kakata, Banga, and then Ganta.
Okay.
You will not say Mosurado because Mosurado had other options, so we left out Mosurado.
Okay. So were those schools constructed?
No, we are there now. So we just concluded. I wanted to take it step by step, but let me follow the way you asked me the questions.
Yeah.
We just concluded the procurement process and signed the contract. So the construction is going to be starting this October.
For all of the.
For all the 28, there are 28 schools total we are constructing across the country. All will start in this October.
Okay.
We are
You
signing
say
the contract.
three high schools.
3 new high schools.
3 new high schools.
25 junior high schools expanded to high schools.
Okay.
Yeah, then renovate all other existing high schools.
Okay. So I'm concerned about the progress that the project has made so far. Given you talk about the expansion and new construction, how are these schools selected?
Well, let's take this step by step. Expansion, like I said, the precondition was the district should have no senior high schools existing right now, public senior high school. So once we go to, for example, let me use one district, maybe in Bapolu County, Bokomu district. And we found out in the whole Bokomu district, there are no existing senior high school, government high school now. We selected one of the very popular area there, a mining area that is very populated called Banga Boketa. And the Boketa Public Junior High is now being expanded to senior high.
Okay.
All right. When you go to Kongba District also, there's no senior high school there. So we selected Kongbo, another commercial hub, mining commercial
Which
hub.
was junior high school.
So junior high.
It's being.
We are now expanded to a senior high school.
Okay.
The same thing in Maryland County, in certain part of Callaway District, I think Callaway 2, educational districts now, not political districts.
Okay.
So Barabo 2, and I think Southern Kent District. So that's what we are doing. We are doing in Nimba. I think the other counties are not benefiting from the expansion are Monserrado, Cape Mount, Lofa, and Bomi. The record shows that all educational districts in those counties have high schools already.
So what's the precondition for the high schools, the new high schools?
The new high school, like I said, is in the number of student population in the county.
Okay.
So, and the classroom student ratio in the county.
Okay.
So it shows that Monserrado, Magili, Nimba, and Bong have the highest rate of overcrowded classrooms at the senior secondary level. So that was a yardstick. Based on that yardstick, we have funding for just 3 counties. So who was left out? Monserrado.
Okay.
And the rationale is that Monserrado has several options.
So the total of these schools in all of the categories combined, they are 150. 150.
156 schools are benefiting from renovation through community empowerment approach. Those are existing government high schools.
Okay.
156.
Because I wanted to ask about some elementary schools that we know, we get reports from our correspondents. Some say, they still suffer.
The project is not covering elementary schools. It's meant
for over like.
There is progress. But what I want us to do, if it will permit, is to be able to understand the various components of the project. Then we'll appreciate the progress.
Okay.
Because everything I've been discussing, I've just focused on 2 components.
Let's go.
And the infrastructure. We also have a component that has to do with increasing girls' transition and completion rate of senior high schools.
Okay.
So there's a girls' education component where we provide scholarship to girls in senior high schools in counties that have high female dropout rate. And some of them have been selected or identified through our national school census.
Okay.
Bapolo, Bomi, Cape Mount, Grand Basso, Riverses, Sando, and Grand Cruz, some of them. So they are benefiting from the girls' scholarship program.
Okay.
We give those girls phones, register SIM in the name of the ministry, and then we'll transfer money to them as a stipend to keep them in school. We also pay the registration fees directly to the national platform used to pay high school fees by the government regulation or the Ministry of Education regulation. And then we'll make sure we follow up on them to know that they are in school. A complete package. We didn't start there under the girls' intervention. We also recruited, train, and deploy female guardian counselors across all public high schools in the country.
Okay. I saw that vacancy once.
Yes.
They put it up that, if you want to be a mentor, you can apply.
Yes, so what we do, we have already gotten about 200 female guardian counselors. More than 200 ladies apply, we vetted them, we took 200, we trained them.
200 for the 15 counties?
Yes.
I mean for the counties.
Yeah, for
the 7 counties.
No, for the 15 counties.
The 15, okay.
For the female guardian counseling program, it cuts across the entire nation.
Okay.
Only for the girls' scholarship is targeted at counties with high female dropout rate, which are just 7.
Okay.
All right, so no school in Liberia, public and community high school, can say they don't have female guardian counselor. Because I was actively involved in the deployment. Seeing the list, all schools are benefiting from that. Those counselors are.
When did the deployment take place?
September.
Okay, since September.
Yeah, since September, because we wanted them to start the new academic year with the students.
Okay.
So they have all been deployed now, and then we are trying to even give them laptop and other things that can make them very functional in their offices. Because
who do they make reports to?
They may report to the ministry through a division called Guardian Counseling Program. Division.
Okay.
All right. And then from that division now, I received the report as a project coordinator that I share with the World Bank how far the government is going with that identical intervention. So, though female guardian counselors are meant to be the supporters of the girls in school, all the vices that take place in our school system that affect kids and discourage them from going to school, they are there to make sure they get their psychosocial support to make sure those things don't sway our girls away from school. All right, and monitor them. So that's one of the interventions also. We also have an intervention around the teaching workforce. It's just not good to just make sure you get grant scholarship, build the schools without making sure the rightful teachers are there.
Okay.
So there are several interventions around the teaching workforce. One of those is that what I was speaking to Musala earlier.
Yeah, the college teacher
The
colleges.
teacher colleges will now take some young faculty from there, send them outside for their graduate studies in specific subject areas. So when they come, they will continue to teach at those teacher colleges, but with specific subject content. Because what has been happening to the education system in Liberia is that at the teacher college, you say you are teaching secondary education English, secondary education biology, secondary education chemistry, or physics or mathematics. Unfortunately, the one that is teaching the students the pure mathematics under the College of Sciences, pure biology, pure chemistry. So going to the science college to do biology is not the same as going to the education college to do biology. In the education college,
There's a big difference.
there's a big difference. In the education college, you are being trained to go teach high school biology. In the science college, it's a wide scope of area. You can choose to go to AM Douglas later and become a medical doctor. You can choose to go to Douglas to become a pharmacist. You can decide to be an industrial biologist, microbiologist, and so on and so forth, molecular biologist, and so on and so forth. But in the education college, you are being taught the high school curriculum and the approach of delivering the high school curriculum to the high school students. Though it's the same biology, but you have contents in common, but approach is different.
And getting the teaching skills as well.
Thank you. So that's what we do in the education college. Give you the pedagogy, but also give you the content specific that should be delivered. All right. So we found out that our schools, our education colleges were lacking of that. So we selected a pool of young faculty. I mean, all the schools just selected their young graduates from the same college and placed them within their employ and delivered them to us under the project, and we send them outside for studies. Some are in University of Botswana, some are in University of Kianta University in Nairobi, Kenya, and some are in University of Cape Coast in Ghana, and they'll be returning by next year because they have gone more than 1 year now into their studies. That's just one of the activities.
And are they making progress?
Very well. They send all their transcript or their grade sheet at the end of every semester, and they are doing well.
And
So,
this is all under the project.
all funded by the project.
Okay.
So that's one of the interventions for the teacher. The next one is to modernize the teacher colleges by reviewing and revising their curriculum and standardizing their curriculum also. So at the end of this project, both Stockman University and UL, if you are doing secondary education English, you will go through the same courses, the same content and everything. Because we don't want disjointed programs, and we are given the same degree.
Yeah.
So that's what is being done. The modules are being developed already, and so on and so forth. But besides that, creating the enabling environment to deliver those kind of materials is also considered another project. That is to say, we build smart classrooms at the University of Liberia Education College, or you call it Teacher College, and the popular one in London. And at the